hello there, pop pickers. It is I once again, the Scotsman and the Scouser, or the Scouser and the Scot, depending on how you like it. I don't give a shit, but either way. But we're here for another splendid show and another fantastic guest. But first, I'll introduce you to a not so fantastic guest. Ian, how the devil are you, pal?
I am very well, especially seeing Liverpool get beat again, but I'm not going to go into that too much because it upsets the Liverpool fans. But
Fuck you.
what I will say is I've been excited about this one. This is an interesting one because I've been Facebook stalking Jay for most probably quite a while. I'm on his hit list of friends that he most probably hasn't come across before. So when I was looking and John said, let's get him on, I was like, yeah, let's do this. So Jay has got many talents. He does photography, videos, content creator, front of house engineer, producer who's had over 2 million streams. I think that is a pretty epic experience in my book. So I'll firstly say, Jay, how the hell are you doing?
Hey man, I'm good, and cheers for having me. Yeah, it's wicked, but yeah, it's been a hell of a year for sure.
It sounds like you're a little bit on the busy side consistently at the moment, which is not something to knock at. It's always good to see someone who's keeping busy in the music industry when it can be quite challenging.
Definitely, man. It's yeah, I'm literally 2 days away from jumping back on tour, and pretty much seeing out the rest of the year on the road. I think I finish my last shows on the 20th of December, and then after that, I'm good for a little while. But
So have you got any time off over Christmas? And what are your
yeah,
plans over Christmas?
I've given myself a couple of weeks, man. It's been a hell of a year, like I said, and yeah, those times of years, is the music industry isn't too busy, thankfully. So it gives me a little bit of leeway to enjoy the quiet life out here in the countryside. Chopping wood and cutting grass.
So
Think
let's start the interview and
Sorry,
let's start it properly. Like before you cut in, John,
oh,
please
sorry,
let me
mate.
finish. Hey, can you give us a quick overview? Like, you know what I mean, where you started and how you got into so many different areas of the music industry.
Definitely, man. So I think I was a little bit of a latecomer. Through primary school, I started learning, acoustic guitars and stuff, and I was never really interested. Um, but as soon as I hit high school, I was drums, bass, guitar. I was vocals. Did a lot of singing back in the day. Ended up joining a whole bunch of bands, and yeah, it kind of just kicked off from there, to be honest. Through that, I actually spent a lot of my childhood in foster care, and I was quite lucky that my foster brother at the time, he was a promoter down in Kidderminster, and he put on a whole bunch of band nights, nightclubs, bars, yeah, you name it, festivals and things. Um, my band played for him a few times, and I had a load of backline, amps and drums and whatever, and he needed backline. So I sort of um, made a deal with him. He'd teach me how to engineer, and I'd give him the backline. And yeah, fast forward a whole bunch of years, working in the studio and working on the road on tour. It's just kind of exploded from one thing to another and into this whole massive community. And yeah, there's some crazy things that just come around. And sometimes it's a little bit like, yeah, looking back to where I started, it's been a road, man, for sure. But it's been about 18 years of my life.
I think one of the things, though, is if I can just ask, with all the different strings you've got to your bow, um, has that come about because it is a hellishly difficult business to make money and to survive off of? Has it come across because of the more strings to your bow you've got, the more chance you've got of doing it full time? Or has it just been that people that trusted you doing one thing then asked you to do another? Or is it a bit of both?
I think so. Like the actual writing and performing music, yeah, I did a lot of that as a kid. And same with the engineering. Instead of college, I was engineering 4, 5, 6 nights a week doing, 3 bands to 12 bands a day. So like, yeah, you do that for a lot of years, and you work with a lot of different bands, and you just learn to get good. In terms of like, but none of that came naturally. I don't come from a musical family really. What I do come from is my dad is a really good photographer. So the video and photography side kind of came a lot later on, admittedly. But that was definitely a more natural expansion for me. And yeah, there are quite a few bands that will come into the studio and we'll spend several months on making an album, and then we'll work on a whole bunch of video content as well. And it's I feel really lucky to be able to see a project right through in so many different aspects. And a lot of guys, you see producers that just produce and just mix, or video guys that just do video. And I think it's something really special, and like it builds such a personal relationship with the music and with the artist as well, having such an intense relationship.
I think that's spot on, because I've only ever spoken to you once before, and that was with a certain band that we both know called Second Cities, probably about 18 months, 2 years ago maybe. And they had great guys, fucking love them to bits, really talented lads, and I tried to help them. But the truth of the matter was that they needed somebody like you, because there's such grandiose ideas and themes and everything else, that I think you're right in what you're saying. You were the perfect fit for them, because we didn't have to rely on 3 or 4 different people having to get on board with what they were trying to achieve. And that's something you've definitely got, as opposed to other producers or other photographers or other videographers. You can actually work on the whole concept because it's ingrained into you. You totally understand it. You're not having to sort of say to no, that's not quite what we pictured. Would you say am I accurate in what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, Second Cities is a great example. That's probably one of the biggest projects that I've sort of done bareback. Yeah, the guys aren't signed. There's no label finances or anything. But they had such big dreams, especially Jamie. The whole concept and the message and everything behind it. We did a lot of work while we were recording and producing the album on the physical writing side, adapting lyrics, melodies, adding sections, taking sections away. And then the whole video side was nuts. Honestly, we've put hundreds and hundreds of hours of sitting there in conference calls, figuring out locations, figuring out props, figuring out cast. It's a massive, massive project. We had a conversation very early on, and I gave a ballpark figure, and they managed to scrape everything together and sort of get it so it was exactly how they wanted, but without those countless nights of back and forth, and a bit of give, bit of take, adapting things and figuring things out. It's mind-blowing. So at the end of this year,
It's a
we've done a
superb
lot.
album. It's a superb album as well, Jay. I listened to it over the last couple of days. Absolutely, I expected it to be, because I love the lads, and I
Thank
remember I
you.
used to play their early stuff on my radio show, and I used to have a radio show, so I always loved their music. But the album is superb, and of course it's conceptual as well. And obviously, I know the storyline, so and I think it's good. It's important that they worked with somebody like you that could make it happen in the way they imagined it. So I think that's the one thing. Like Ian, for example, Ian's got his own band, and he's quite conceptual as well with a lot of things. And I think it's working with somebody like you that can make that happen. If you just want to record, you just record. If you just want to get a video in, but I think if you're going to go concept wise, there's only one man for the job, and that's you. I think.
I think honestly, it's been such a whirlwind over the few years, but I still see myself as a musician. I still take myself back to those early years where I was writing songs, I was performing, and writing lyrics and melodies and in the studio. But rather than being in the band, I'm able to create something massive from someone else's vision. And sometimes that's really hard, yeah, working with someone else's vision and then being able to put that onto paper and then make that a reality. There are so many like working clogs between an idea in a video call compared to finished, done,
I should
released, out there.
say, Jay, I should imagine, like, because when you're in a band anyway, you've got, say, 4 or 5 different people, all with ideas, all wanting to push in the same right direction and stuff like that. Obviously, no offense, but you've got to be part of that band to understand what is their vision, what are they trying to achieve, and obviously you're able to see what there is and script it, storybook it, write it all out for them, and give them the examples. What is the biggest challenges of that? Because obviously you've got to try and sell it to get them to buy into it as well, what your vision is. So because obviously you've got to you want to be interested in this as well because it makes it a hell of a lot easier when you're doing the project if you're buying into their product.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm grateful that I work with people that I call really close friends. You've absolutely got to be that extra fifth, sixth, seventh member of the band, whatever. And you've got to be, yeah, emotionally and physically invested as much as they are. It's hard when there is a lot of voices in the room, a lot of different ideas, especially in the early stages. You know, everybody's spitballing ideas. Well, what if? What if? But sometimes you just gotta direct. Okay, you know, we need something to happen. We need something solid. What can we actually make work with time frame, with resources, with finances? You know, the whole aspect has to fit together nicely, I feel. And it's really hard to pre-plan all of that. You know, when Second Cities first started working, you know, they were heavily on the road, but struggling to find much traction, you know, losing a lot of money. And we were able to sort of redirect that into a more of a build a solid concrete base and start again where you can keep that cycle going. Yeah, they're in a routine now where they're sort of 6 to 12 months ahead of themselves, and are able to hopefully keep pushing forward in the direction that they are. But yeah, it's got to be a family, and that's what's important. Yeah, you've all got to be working together with the same goal, and even if it's conflicting ideas, sometimes you just got to learn. Okay, we'll let go here, and still put everything you've got into what you're working on.
So obviously we're talking video production and stuff like that at the moment and stuff. So anyone who's interested in video production, obviously it's not easy. We know that you can go. It's like being a musician. You can buy £100 guitar and you can start playing. Where would you advise someone who's interested in starting? What would you advise them to start investing in or looking into investing? I.e., is it camera? Is it software? Is it hard? What do you see what I mean? And I know it's an empty question, but someone needs to give someone advice. And I always say, if you can get some good advice to start, put you in the right track of what you need to do.
I think it's a really hard one to answer, whether that be the production side, whether that be the video, or even the touring side. I think, you've got to be able to have the bare minimum resources to be able to do what you want to do. But then have goals and make sensible decisions with, for most people trying to start out, it's going to be finance and time, which are the two hardest factors to figure. Investing in the right things, it's better to wait an extra year or 2 years or 5 years or whatever to invest in the best gear that you can from as early on as you can, but also with it being the right time. Yeah, I started with literally content creation on iPhones and GoPros and some very consumer level stuff. But then investing in the right gear meant that we were able to approach bigger clients like Live Nation, Saxon, Bruce Dickinson, and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's figuring out where you are in your little time scale. And I think that's different for everyone based on circumstances. Some people have kids, some people don't. Some people got a stable job, some people don't. It's really a one-on-one situation kind of thing.
Who's the best artist you've ever worked with? I'm just going to throw it out
The next one.
Ah,
Always.
what a PC answer that is. You've let me down, Jay.
I've got so many bands and artists and singers and even booking agents and industry guys that I generally call my friends, and it's awesome being able to work with your friends. Whether they're big or small, it doesn't really matter to me all that much.
Okay. Well, let me reword it then. Without naming any names, what is the biggest challenge or what is the funniest story you've got from a music video? Or strangest request of a music video?
Strangest idea, even.
Strangest idea. I mean, we've had Playing on the Moon and like just random crazy shit like that. Most are like fire and dancing and whatever. There's a couple of times where we've been in like sketchy locations and doing kind of sketchy stuff. Probably involving fire. We did one not so long ago where we did some fire breathing, and that was in the middle of a forest at night, and it got a little bit crazy. We've done abandoned castles and tunnels, and music videos get crazy pretty quick. A lot of bands have some pretty wacky ideas. But
Is there any you've had? Is there any, Jay, that you've had to say, for fuck's sake, get a grip? That's never going to happen. It's just a crap idea.
About 98% of the time. Everybody wants pyro and flashing lights, and it's like, okay, what's your budget? Well, okay, now we need to bring down our expectation levels to something that we can achieve.
So I think that's a valid question. Obviously, a lot of bands expect miracles from budget, and green screen and AI is everyone's new favorite tool at the moment, as you can imagine. So what is an average budget for a band, would you say, to get a decent video done?
Something that would actually be worth looking at. That's what I mean. Something that's effective.
Are we talking just a production point? Are we talking full-on release, or?
No, let's just do production first. Let's do production.
So production-wise, a lot of bands will straight up go for just a performance video, which you can quite easily get in a day. I think, most guys on a decent level are about 500 to about 750, £800 for a straight up performance video, which I think for most bands are quite achievable now. I think a lot of bands are getting, there seems to be a bit of a hype in the UK right now, and there's a lot of buzz going around new bands, and there's some real success stories coming, so I think it's quite achievable now. You don't have to have tens of thousands of pounds to put out a kick-ass music video. It's thinking outside of the box sometimes will save you a lot of money.
One of the best I saw, I think, was on TikTok, and it was a young kids, like 13, 14, 15-year-old. It's an alt rock band, somewhere in America, and they asked their neighbour if they could perform in front of their like Ring doorbell kind of thing, and it was fucking mint. Honestly, it was really clever how they did it, and it looked brilliant because as they came up to the singer and all that, it was just such a cool video. And I thought, wow, that's really, they probably had no money, and the woman next door just went, yeah, go for it, and it was really cool. And it's like you say, but I tell you what, I hate, and I hate with a passion. So if anybody sends me a video and says, what do you think of this, like any of the bands or that, first thing I do is watch it without the music on. Because if the video doesn't catch my attention without the music, then I don't think it's doing anything to add to the song. That's my personal thought. But I hate lyric videos that are just quite clearly repetitive. And there's
Yeah.
not, I mean, during COVID and that, I could see why they were doing it. But then there was people just regurgitating the same shit all the time. And I hate lyric videos now because of it.
I'll be honest, dude. I'm right there with you. Like, I'm also dyslexic, so I don't like reading if I don't have to do it. Um, but lyric videos typically, I'm like, it's just repeated unless you've spent, a good £1,000 plus and got someone really cool doing some really choppy out there stuff, really giving it the attention. 9 times out of 10, I'm like, yeah, I'm okay.
So obviously we were just talking about the videos and bits and pieces and the wacky stuff that you've been asked to do and stuff like that. But one thing which crept into my mind when you said that you've recorded in castles and like forests and stuff like that, do you have to apply for licensing to do anything like that? Yeah, or is it just straightforward? Just go creep up in the middle of the night and just get it done.
I
Obviously, we
mean,
don't condone anything illegal, but what
yeah,
are
yeah,
the other
yeah,
things like
yeah,
that?
no, absolutely. I'm not gonna say that I haven't ever done the whole creeping in thing, um, but
Talking to the
sometimes,
Scouser, mate, come on, it's fine.
yeah. Um, I mean, I think you'd be when you start looking at things like this, and you start talking to friends and family and other bands, other video guys. Yeah, I think it's quite straightforward a lot of the time to find some cool locations. I was lucky when I spent a lot of time up in Scotland. I was shooting for Visit Scotland and clients like that. So I got to meet a good few charities up there that help preserve, some of the castles and things like that up there. So we've had some pretty cool shoots up there as well. Um, but yeah, you kind of just come across these places sometimes. It's not always easy. I think location hunting, especially on a tight budget, can be one of the hardest obstacles to come over, to be honest. And a lot of bands will sort of give up after a while if it is hard to lock down a really cool location.
I think the thing is as well, I can't remember where it was, but it was one of the bands I worked with. I think it was Blitz back in the day, and they wanted something specific. And so we approached a building, the people that run the building. And I think they thought we were a Hollywood blockbuster, the money they quoted just for us to go in and film for 5 or 6 hours. It
Yeah,
was not, it was thousands upon thousands. I'm like, this is a grassroots band. Your place is empty. Come
yeah.
on. They just saw it as a way of, they'd no, I think they thought it was My Chemical Romance or some fucking band like that was coming in, you know what I mean? The mega box to pay for it all. But it was that doesn't help either, that they don't seem willing because I tried to sell it to them and say, look, this is going to make your place, this is going to put your place a little bit on the map, and maybe other bands will come in and want to use it as well that can pay the big bucks. But yeah, it fell in deaf ears, so we ended up doing it somewhere different.
Uh, Honestly, there's a lot like that. I think, it's easy to type into Google music video locations, and there are a lot of the higher end corporate stuff that get booked up with the TV and the film side, where there is that mega budget stuff where they can afford to drop 10 grand on doing a week's recording, filming at a certain location. And it does take a little bit of digging, to be honest. But like, again, we've shot in like venues that are getting renovated, which the touring side then sort of helps that side as well. Yeah, I'm constantly on the road. I'm constantly meeting people from all different backgrounds, and everybody's got a story to tell, kind of thing. And sometimes that comes in handy. We need such and such. Okay, I met this guy once, and let's see what we can do there. Like, sometimes things come off, in the most random of ways, unthought of, but it happens.
So you also do obviously producing front of house, like and stuff like that. So let's talk a little bit about that, like, because obviously that's the other side of the spectrum. We've covered the video side. So how did you start in that side of it? Is it just a follow on, like, from you learning how to play? And
Pretty much, yeah. Like I said before, in foster care, it was my foster brother that sort of showed me how a PA works, how a microphone works, sort of how to mix.
mm,
Um, the band that I was frontman in at the time, we'd recently got signed by a small indie label, and the recordings that we had back for that were terrible, to be honest. So I took those stems and mixed my first single on a crappy little radio thing that I had, a hi-fi system and a cracked version of Cubase and whatever. I now pay for all my software. It is super expensive, but back in the day, yeah, resources like, and it just kind of snowballed. Yeah, working with so many bands from so many different areas and being on tour or doing festivals, and yeah, I'm constantly networking with so many different ventures. It's sort of tangles itself all together sometimes. um yeah Diamond Head was a really good one for me. We went on tour with Saxon. We did about 2-3 months all the way around Europe and the UK. And we did a couple of shows in the Apollo in Manchester and the Hammersmith as well. And that led to me doing some video work with two music videos and a live video for Saxon. And that opened up a lot of doors from there. Yeah, it gets nuts sometimes. It's cool. It's cool.
so obviously you do the front of house and stuff like that. It's What is the biggest challenges that you have, because you're going from venue to venue to venue. Obviously, every different venue is completely different. Your reverb's going to be everywhere, or you've got an open air. What is the biggest challenges that you face on a day-to-day basis on tour?
There is so many, and sometimes it's not even production related. Sometimes it's just bad loading, bad local crew, traffic, or there's so many obstacles that happen constantly. And for me, my touring is so varied. Sometimes I can be touring with a headliner that's doing some 5, 6, 7,000 cap venues, and in those cases the local crew are really good. Usually the venues are really good. It's kind of straightforward, although it's so much of a bigger production. And obviously smaller things sometimes you have to start wearing several hats. There was a point where in Diamond Head where we were working on the social media side. So there was one song in the set every single night that I would ditch front of house with the in-house engineers, run down the front of the stage, film a bunch of shit on stage, and then run back before the song finished. And it was the shortest song of the set. But we'd put those together in little highlight reels every single day, and the social media went from hitting 80, 90,000 people a week to a couple of million a week while we're doing all this crazy stuff in between. It's nuts sometimes, but it's cool.
Cool. That's pretty cool. So tell us about the social media side of things, because the content creator, as you just talked about, I think it's key for any band who's starting off. What advice would you actually give them? Because it's a minefield where you could easily get lost. There's so much information, but what advice would you give to someone who's starting a band, who's trying to get something like I don't know, like the amazing click video, like what I mean?
I think every day is a school day, and I think a band starting out has to use social media. They have no choice these days. in some way, shape, or form. I think it's also important to understand how the music industry has evolved. Looking back through sort of 50s, 60s, through to 90s, early 2000s, and what's happening now, and how music has progressed. A lot of radio is now replaced with things like Spotify and Amazon Music and your Alexas and nearly everybody's home these days. Back when I was growing up, it was all Scuzz and Kerrang on the TV. Well, now that's been replaced with YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and stuff like that. The formats are changing and the industry is changing. And I think you've got to kind of test the waters in so many different ways. Again, you've got to wear so many different hats. Reels are popping off, and there are bands. I had the pleasure of working with a band called The Warning last year, who
cool.
are three sisters from Mexico, I believe. And they've just popped off through TikToks, like loads and loads and loads and loads of TikToks. They did a couple of covers on YouTube in the early days. They did like Enter Sandman and stuff. That's on like 20 million views or something.
Yeah, I've seen them. I think, didn't Brian Slagle mention them? We interviewed Brian Slagle from Metal Blade Records. I think he mentioned them when we interviewed, because he says that's the only place he discovers new music now is TikTok.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's TikTok, Spotify, especially right now, that's where so much noise is happening. And you've got to be consistent. You've got to be really dedicated. I remember very early on in my career, I had some advice from another producer who he was a producer in America, and he's shit up, but he said, 99% of the people idolize the idea of the dream rather than the reality. Everybody wants to be playing big venues and getting millions of views and whatever, but the reality is you've got to work up from there. You've got to start at day one. And a lot of bands will fall at the hurdle of we'll do it tomorrow, we'll do it next week. Make it today, and be really consistent about it.
I think the other thing traditionally in rock and metal, which is I would guess is all three are backgrounds. Me a lot longer than you guys, but I think the other thing is that there's always such an onus, even in young bands, they want to gig first. And they're going out and they're doing the rounds playing to next to nobody, making the same mistakes we all made. Not getting paid and fucking costing you a fortune to do it. And I think you're quite right. It's better to take your time, get your songs right, get your art right, get your social media right, so that when you do go out, there's actually people want to see you.
You know what? And bringing it back to Second Cities, that's exactly what we did with that. I feel a lot of bands get frustrated and annoyed traveling to the ends of the country, playing to no one for nothing and just losing money the whole time. Sometimes you've got to just stop a second. The internet is such a good platform now, and it's so accessible to so many different people. Everybody's got a mobile phone on them. Everybody's constantly getting notifications about this, about that, it's so accessible. Start there. Don't go out on the road and play to, the sound guy and the bar staff. Get 15, 20 people, make sure that they're coming to that show, and then go. Once there's a bit of money on the table to try and make it work a bit, then it makes sense. Second Cities, they were doing that. They were out nearly every weekend trying to make it work.
Oh yeah, they drove me nuts with it. I'll be honest with you, and that was Jamie himself. He wanted to, he's such big plans, but he wanted to be out in front of people performing and playing to his, and guess what? He's right, because it is traditionally the way that it was always done. But it was just banging your head against a brick wall.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard for a band to accept to stop gigging for a little bit. I think that's a really hard pill to swallow, and you've got to be sure of what you're doing. because at some point you're gonna have to get back on the road.
Mm.
For them it was a case of, right, we're stop booking. We're gonna play the gigs that we've got, and then we're gonna stop booking for a minute, and then we're gonna work on making sure we've got our shit together. And that starts with their first album launch, which they managed. I think they just put 90 tickets themselves in Wolverhampton, which has smashed the record that they had. They're in a brand new venue that they haven't played before. And big shout out to KK's. I do a lot of work with them, for them, and come through a lot with touring guys. And then Jamie turned around at the end of the night. He's like, "Holy fuck, man! We've made some really good money here." And I was like, "Okay, first step back into it."
Well, this is one of the things that I've been saying to most of the bands that I've been seeing. Most of the bands that we talk about social media and stuff like that, and how you perform. It's like, you get invited to these festivals, you get invited to these gigs, you arrange these gigs, but you never see them post enough about it or in the right forums. And this is where I was saying, like, it's not one person in the band who should do this; it's the whole band. And you go out your way to find where's the nearest rock venue or the rock society in the university that you go in the city. Get posters out there. It sounds cliche and stuff like that, but there's fans have got to understand you've got to put the time in to get the results, and you've got to put the effort in to get the results.
It is. It's you can't expect professional results from a hobbyist commitment level.
Yeah.
If you're turning up to band practice for 2 nights a week and that's all you do, then you're not gonna be jumping on download in 5 years' time. You've got to make sure that you're learning. Knowledge is everything, and the more you have an idea, the more educated, I guess, you're. Because it's all a guess. There's no ABC. This is how you do music. This is how you become a band. Like, there's a lot of trial, a lot of error, but you can at least make more educated guesses as to hopefully where you're going. But it's such a can of worms, and it never ends. You finish one album cycle with a band, and then the whole sort of function changes again, and you've got to adapt and build and grow and hopefully do the right thing, which is sometimes the unexpected. But yeah.
You're right, because one of the acts I worked with is Katie and the Bad Sign, and they knew they were going to play Sheffield for the first time. So about 2 weeks before it, Katie and one of the guitarists went down and they busked in the centre of Sheffield and handed out leaflets about the fact they were playing it. They've done it. They've done it everywhere they've gone. Everywhere they play, they've been like days before it, or even that day, like they played the Motorsport Lounge in Llandudno, and they went down that afternoon and played down the front, and and there were people came along to the gig because they saw them and heard them down there, and that's a late her, printing off flyers and sending them out and all that. That's the level of commitment. You can't just stick it in fucking social media and think that's it all, because it has to be everything.
Absolutely. It has to be the whole package. And like I said, there's no ABC. For what works with one band will probably not work for another band, maybe on the same sort of scene, or do you know what I mean? A really good band from, I think they're Australia, and they're this funky band, and there's like a 4-piece, I think. But they were out busking all the time, and they would record TikTok videos of them busking, and it was just funky as fuck, and they were really good musicians. And then that became tours, and then they just built and built and built, and now they're earning some pretty good money off, just being out there and playing. Whether that be in person, whether that be online, whether that be through whatever medium. We all remember lockdown and the streamed shows and stuff that took place when all that crazy was happening. The mediums are constantly changing and growing and adapting, and it's keeping up with it all. So
this point of the show, I normally
You're going to hate this, Jay. I'm warning you now. You are going to fucking hate this bit.
I don't do it out of purpose.
It does.
I do actually. I'm not gonna lie. Right. Okay. So what I do is normally we call it win or stay on. I give you a list. Start with two. You pick one. It's as easy as that.
come on.
Normally, the worst I've had is I've been called quite a lot bad things, bad names. So I apologise in advance. If you don't speak to me and you defriend me on Facebook, I know I've done the right thing and pushed your buttons a little bit, but I've got to do it. I've got to do it,
man. I'm all
like that. Okay. Yeah. So I picked some bands out for you, Jay.
Okay.
So it's called Win or Stay On. So your first two bands, Bruce Dickinson versus Those Damn Crows.
Oh man, really? Off the bat?
I'm sorry.
Wow, man. I mean, I got brought up on Maiden, so that's a big one for me right there. But Crows are smashing it right now, so I'm gonna have to go with Crows.
Wow. Okay, I like that. You mightn't like this next one. Those Damn Crows, Diamond Head.
Ah, dude. You're digging deep, yeah.
Well, wait till you get to the end.
This is just a foreplay, Jay.
Just teasing at the moment.
I'm gonna have to say Diamond Head, man. I got so many memories with those boys.
And one of my favourite bands of all time too, mate. So I'm glad you went for Diamond Head.
Honestly, that was some of the happiest times of my life. Yeah, doing all aspects. Yeah, it's wicked, and I love those guys to bits. So yeah,
it's all about creating memories, mate, and that's the important thing about music.
It is.
So back to it, unfortunately, mate, and so you can really hate me even more. Diamond Head versus the Wild Hearts.
I'm about to go on tour with the Wild Hearts.
Well, they might not watch this, Jay. They might not watch it, mate. So you be free.
Do it under your cough. Do it under the cough, like, you know.
I love the Wild Hearts guys to bits, but I'm gonna have to go Diamond Head.
Diamond Head or Saxon?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I really am.
You can see why I let him do this, Jay, and I don't take any part in it. Good cop, bad cop it is.
No, I love Biff and the guys and Paul and that, but yeah, Bry's in Saxon now, so I'm still gonna say Diamond Head.
Now you mightn't like me for the next two, so I apologise in advance. Diamond Head or Scarlet Rebels?
Well, he's just finished the tour with Scarlet Rebels. He's not worried about that one.
I haven't finished it yet. That's where I'm up on Wednesday. Yeah, I've got 2 days. When does this come out, man?
We'll do it on Sunday, and I won't tag Alad in it.
It was Sunday. Alad's gonna see it anyway. You know he is. I'm gonna say Scarlet Rebels, man. I love them.
I like that.
We're doing stuff right now, and
they're brilliant. Their albums, last two albums have been fucking
absolutely
amazing.
Cracking, guys.
Well, we just started demoing some stuff for another album a couple of weeks ago, and the new songs. I'm not gonna say much about it, but they're fucking sick. Really,
look. Didn't even know you were coming on. Man. Didn't even know you were. I didn't even think about that. It just happens to be sitting on my desk. Yeah, I did the same with Alad, actually. We went to view the Alad. I showed him
it. Those boys are so much fun. We had a wicked time in Switzerland earlier this year, and it was sick.
That's cool. Right, the last one.
Yeah.
Scarlet Rebels and Second Cities.
Motherfucker.
Reached the goal of being called a motherfucker.
Yeah, I kind of saw this as coming.
And I didn't set it up, Jay. I played no part. guys for Second Cities, I promise you, I had fuck all to do with this.
If it
Scarlet
makes you,
Rebels,
if it
man.
makes you feel better, right? Dario from Black Label Society got some brutal ones against him as well, like so, and that included the likes of like Zach and Randy. So I think I don't single out. I do make it fair.
He did actually say Scarlet Rebels there. I heard him.
Yeah, I love the Second City guys, and we have a blast. But Rebels took me to the beach this year. They took me to Switzerland. Yeah, we've had a lot of beers. Yeah,
So
do
Jamie and
that.
the lads, if you want to be his
See.
new favourite, you need to take him to the beach and buy him loads of beer. There you go.
Oh, they are well
That's all it
aware.
takes. It's easy. It's cheap.
Yeah,
Get
right.
a 99 ice cream as well on the while he's on the beach, and he's anyone's. He's anyone's.
Honestly, I'm not a hard guy to please. Like, yeah, simple things. I live in the countryside. Yeah, give me a beer and I'm happy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let me
that's crazy.
apologise then, mate. But thank you very much for taking part because I know it's not easy.
Nah, that was good, man. I like that. Fair play.
I always look forward to it because I can honestly say I don't ever get the blame of it. And afterwards,
Yeah,
people
man.
if it's me that's booked the interviews rather than Ian, I'm getting all that. Yeah, did you know he was going to do that? Well, I knew what he was going to do, but I didn't know what bands or what guitarists or whatever or drummers he chose or anything like that. I don't know what he's going to bring up, but he does do his homework. I'll give him that.
Yeah, honestly, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. You're bang on. You've definitely done your homework, and I know that I've now got to have some interesting conversation.
If you suddenly find
Yeah,
yourself with a lot more free time next year, you can blame him.
Yeah, man. Yeah. If I
if
suddenly stop
it
getting
is
booked for
Jay,
tours,
I'll bring my band down just to fill the gaps, mate. There you
yeah,
go.
do it, man. There's a deal. We'll do it.
That would be
Oh man.
ace. John, go on, mate. Have you got any more questions for Jay?
Yeah, I was going to. This is something personal to me, and I just wanted to. So I'm a bit fucking bored with a lot of what's coming out of rock, what's coming out of metal. It's so
Yep.
cliched, etc. So I'm getting fucking stalled of it, and I just don't get as excited with it as perhaps I should, even though there's
Yeah.
some cracking stuff out there. But today I got something sent. I got somebody reached out to me through a bit like yourself, and that's what made me think it, Jay. You know that wheels within wheels. So you played somebody's record on your radio show, and they then remembered that, and then introduced you to somebody else. And I got this email this afternoon or this morning, and it's a young girl up in Scotland, a young lass up in Scotland, and it's 3 tracks, and she hasn't even brought them out yet. I'm not going to name her for obvious reasons, because, and oh my fucking god, it's a genre I've never worked with in my life. It's ethereal. It's fucking unbelievable. And I was listening to it, and it's been recorded in a studio, I think, in France. And I was listening in the car coming home tonight, and oh my God, it was just mind blowing. You know what I mean? Just to hear some sound like that, huge sound, cinema scope, sound kind of style. Um,
Yeah.
is that, see when people are pitching to you, like new bands, do you have to love the music?
Yeah. And the people and everything about it. I'm not scared of saying yes to something I maybe don't primarily work in. I've done my fair share of pop and country and blues, stuff like that. Um, but I think there's a lot of music right now. And again, going back to the social media side, because it is so accessible, yeah, you're hearing everybody's what was demos maybe once upon a time now being released on Spotify and things like that. So there's a lot of noise. I also, on the other hand, say that from a production value, opening up so many doors and being more accessible, that there is some of the best music happening right now.
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah, it is sometimes sifting through a lot of the, there's a lot of bands that hear a band doing all right on the scene, and automatically they just want to be that band. It's a weird tightrope, isn't it?
Oh
Sticking
yeah.
true to yourself, but also that want for success and not wanting to sell out. But do you know what I mean? I think it's weird for a lot of bands, but
And I remember when Scarlet, no, sorry, when those damn crows started to really take off. Then all of a sudden, there were other bands that were on the scene, probably just before them, or certainly at the
yeah,
same time as them. And then they started bringing out songs, and I'm thinking, well, it's fucking obvious who they're trying to copy. And I
yeah,
just like, why are you playing stuff? Are you that desperate for what you think success that you're trying to sound like somebody else? Why don't you just make the music that makes you? You know, we went and saw a band recently. We interviewed them first called Hippies and Cowboys, and they came on. It was a guy called Philip Shabur for Tres Hombres that introduced me to him. I liked the music. I spoke to Ian. We got them on, and we went and saw them a couple of weeks ago in Birkenhead. And oh, fuck, you know, kind of southern rock, classic rock. But Jesus, the the quality of the guys and the guy's voice in particular. I'm a voice guy. The guy's voice with it was honestly what it was like, Ian. And when you hear it done brilliantly, and I think I just hope there's nobody out there trying to make a fucking copy of this because they ain't going to do it. They're not going to be able to do that well.
But
yeah,
the one thing which I liked about the Hippies and Cowboys, and I'll say this now, I listened to the record and it was great. It was great. It was no way you just listen to it and just think, yeah, that's quality.
yeah,
Then you go to the show and it's not a carbon copy of the actual record. It adds it pulls you into the show, and it's hard to explain to someone who's like doesn't grasp that feeling that like because 8 years and years ago I went to see remember a band called the Seahorses.
Mm.
Yeah, got the CD and I thought some amazing guitar work on there. We all know about it. Blah blah blah. Went to see them. They played the CD as it was, track for track, done it, and then went off stage. And I was like, wow, that is boring. I
yeah,
couldn't, I couldn't think of anything worse. These came on, and he just the passion, the voice, the everything, and he it just brought it all together. Listening to the CD, and that's what I like, and this is what you want to try and achieve that live feeling on a record, but
yeah.
it's hard to explain, like you know what I mean. But it was a piece of art, in my opinion. And
Yeah.
I think
Oh,
it's not all about just the studio; it's the live performance as well.
I couldn't agree more. Like honestly, some of the most special moments I have is being involved in some kind of show, whether on stage or front of house. And again, seeing both sides.
mm.
Yeah, I don't want what I've just done in the studio. I want that, but live and bigger and better and more exciting and personal. And yeah, there was one tour I did. We did a few shows with a super group called Deadland Ritual, and you had Matt Sorum from Guns N' Roses, Geezer Butler, Sabbath, Steve Stevens, Billy Idol, and a guy called Frankie Perez. And I was outside having a cigarette with Matt Sorum and Geezer Butler, and I was like, going on, what does it take to write some of the most iconic rock songs in history? And he was just like, sing about what you know, but make sure you can do it in 40 years' time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, absolutely, yeah. Making sure whatever you do, whether that be from an artist point of view or a creative or a production point of view or whatever it may be, making sure that you stick to what you believe in and who you are, but also making sure that you're the best version of you that you can be. You are putting in the time and effort and investing it into you as well. Sometimes that's taking breaks and having family time, or sometimes that's being away from home and making things happen elsewhere. It's all a big juggle, but you've got to stick to you. That's the main thing. It's easy. Writing a song that sounds like AC/DC. There's so many bands that try and do it, and some that have had some decent success off the back of it. But whatever that may be, as long as you are you, I think that's what's the most important thing.
Do you know what? That is such a powerful message. I think what a way to end the show. I don't know about you, John. I think that's, and I totally agree with you, Jake. So, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate the time that you've given us this evening.
And likewise, guys.
Um,
Thank you.
and like I say, yeah, thank you very much. And John, over to you, buddy.
Well, there you have it, folks. That's another Scouse on the Scot show. Thanks, Jay. Absolutely amazing. And this is what we want to do. We want to bring this, people like Jay, with all this experience to the forefront of people so that they can learn from it and enjoy it as well. And if we enjoy it, then you should be enjoying it. So you know what to do. Tell your friends about it. Subscribe. Make sure you follow us. And then that way we can tell you every time we're releasing one of these. And make sure you share it in social media because people like Jay should be heard by everybody that can possibly be heard from. So big love, over and out.